Hello, today I'm joined by my guest April from Abbey Sales and Lettings. April, how are you doing?
Very well. How's David?
David is pretty good this week. We're going to date this recording, so we're in that sort of final run up before Christmas, and I'm
Hmm.
sure there's lots of people out there still anxious trying to get their sales completed and through.
Yeah.
And so traditionally, this is the last minute frenzy in all the sales offices.
Hmm.
You guys have been using a solution to progress your sales, and that is complete ASAP. What was your process before you brought them into the business?
So we had an in-house sales progressor, just the one. At the time, we had four branches, and they were covering all our sales. So it wouldn't be out of one branch; it'd be from a head office, and they would cover all the sales progressions for every branch.
So how was that working out for you then?
Um, it wasn't. I think I could say from being in a couple of companies and being in this company, it wasn't ideal. We had plans to expand with the buying acquisitions, and so it didn't work with the sales progression as it was. We would need either to upsize the team or to look into another option.
Often there's the sort of a hesitancy though to give up sales progression or to look at outside resources in order to help for it because we kind of assume that because it's our kind of internal magic, if you like, we
Mhm.
could do it better than somebody
Mhm.
else. So tell us about that kind of leap of faith that you took to sort of partner up with Complete ASAP.
It was hard. It was hard to let your baby go, basically. So to try and trust someone else to babysit is a hard decision to make. The good thing is, since we made that decision, we also have done acquisitions, and in those acquisitions, they had in-house sales progressions as well, and we had to try and convince quite a few different companies in our acquisitions that this is the best way forward. And again, you have to have that conversation of saying, I know you love your baby and I know you're very good at it, but we promise these are also very lovely people that will love your baby as well. It was harder to have that conversation to say that you just need to take this leap of faith. Thankfully, we had already done that, so we really trusted it. But it definitely was a hard thing to see the benefits without actually seeing them. You had to take a trust that it is going to benefit your company. So we did take a bit of a punt, and it's been great because then we can let all the teams that we have since then say someone else is going to love your baby equally, and you're still involved. It's just they will take essentially all the bits you don't like doing, they get to do as well. So.
Because it is a painful process sometimes, isn't it?
Mhm.
I try not to refer to it as chasing because it sort of
Mhm.
somehow takes the magic out of it and refer to it as progressing. But very often
Mhm.
we are chasing for information, aren't we? From solicitors, from surveyors, from
Mhm.
mortgage brokers, so many people up and down the chain. Uh,
Mhm.
it can be quite daunting to make
Mm.
all of those calls in house.
Yeah, and the how our MD saw it was it's a lot of noise in branch. It was a majority of our day was like you said, chasing, or we're checking in, or we're finding out. And there's some vendors that need a bit more hand holding than others, and we were getting really thoroughly involved. And then after 6 to 9 months, it then goes, actually, no, we don't want the property, and it all falls out of bed. So we found that the process was very noisy. As much as we loved being able to help our vendors and our buyers, it was taking a lot of our day to be able to see through that process.
And so talking about your vendors and buyers, because ultimately I suppose that's the benchmark of the feedback that we want here. Yes, your
Mm.
opinion's great, but what do your customers think of it? What have their reaction been since you decided to do this?
Well, like I said, is because we've had a couple of acquisitions. I've seen this a few times now, which is really good. So they you have to again say, I know you've been dealing with X, but now you're going to be dealing with X and Y, and it's going to be a different people. And we have to reassure them and say, I'm still here. I'm still at the end of a phone call. However, for this part of your process, you're going to be dealing with them. So you do have to reassure them. I would say within a day, they're fine. So
Yeah.
I think it feels a little bit, oh no, but I've been dealing with you. So what's going to happen? As long as you have that conversation and reassure them, and then complete ASAP, then also have a conversation and reassure them and say, I'm the person you're dealing with. I'm around all the time. If I'm not here, it's this person. Just tell me everything. I've already got up to scratch for the file. So it's actually been, that part of it's really good. But then after that, majority of our reviews on our branches are for Complete ASAP because they think it's all the same team member. So they get more reviews than we do, which obviously goes down really well with the branch, but it's lovely to see. So they all try to grab the phone off each other to try and speak to sales progressors. So they're basically part of our team. So yeah, it's lovely that the vendors and buyers really, once they start dealing with them, are absolutely fine and actually probably prefer them over us.
That is, I mean, it's great once you start getting reviews left for effectively something that is an outsourced service.
Mm-hmm.
That's really, that's the benchmark that people really are sort of
Mm-hmm.
happy with the service and that they are, that it reflects well on your company as well. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
why initially as agents we are hesitant to give things up to outside resources because we sort of assume that nobody else is going to be able to represent us as well as we represent
Mm-hmm.
ourselves. But in fact, your experience is that Complete ASAP are doing a lovely job of that.
Probably a better job, I think, to be honest, much better than we could do because they're dedicated to it. For us, it's part of the process. It's not part of our KPIs. It's not something we're targeted on. It's sort of the aftermath of something that we're targeted on. So we don't give it the same, dedication as much as we think we do. It's not the same dedication as what Complete ASAP do because that's completely their job, and they can look after your baby really well, much better than we probably were ourselves.
They're specialists effectively, and I think
Mm-hmm.
that sort of allows you in the living room, as it were, to sell a service that is great. It's backed on your experience as an agent, but also you are not leaving the very important task of sales progression to chance. You've
Mm-hmm.
got a dedicated specialist almost that's dealing with that
Yeah.
for. That must be reassuring for the customer as well.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we sing about it to everyone. When we talk to buyers, we say, you get this specialist. When we speak to vendors, you get this specialist. As part of our service, is you get this specialist. And it's not waiting for me to come back from annual leave. You're not waiting for her to come back from viewings. They're a specialist that's sitting there waiting for your call and will actually be calling you before you even want to call them. And that's a massive part of what we do as a service is their service. So it helps us as an agency, and it's not us doing it. So it's fantastic.
And do you use Complete SAP just for the progression elements, or do they also provide legals for your team as well?
Yeah, so they do all sales progression and they do whatever we refer across for vendors and buyers for the legal part as well, which we find works really well. If they've already signed up for AMLs and doing all of that part, the MI pack, they're doing all that bit with ASAP, you might as well keep going with them and
Yeah,
keep going with the legal process, makes it a lot smoother. They also, what we found is if there's any issues with the legal side of it, they don't get on the solicitor doesn't work for them, whatever it is, ASAP will just change it immediately to someone else within an hour.
yeah,
Most of the time,
yeah.
so that's again a massive sell from our part. So they do work hand in hand, and it works a lot smoother that way if they do.
And overall, as a business as well, there's advantages of that sort of adding to your bottom line as well in terms of referral fees and so on. And that income
Yeah,
is nice to have. Not essential, but definitely nice to have.
yeah, the financial in part of it means that we can then pay in branch to be able to refer across, and that really helps because then they get invested in ASAP. It's not just a person that does a sales progression, it's a bit more financial reward for people in branch, but also for us the way we view it is the smoother the process, the more likely it is that that money is going to hit into our pot, less chance of fall through, the smoother the whole process is and the quicker it is as well.
So, based on everything that you've said so far, April, I'm going to ask you a stupid question. I
Mm-hmm.
take it that you would very much recommend Complete ASAP to anybody that was thinking about kind of streamlining their processes. I mean, you mentioned that you were looking to expand. Do you feel now that you've got that kind of support and to enable you to expand the business in other directions?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, every time we go to anywhere that's got agents, we are screaming about ASAP because it's completely changed our business. Not only has it increased like the pipeline, we don't need to have set quite a big pipeline for our KPIs because we can dramatically reduce that because it turns over so much quicker and we're a lot more confident. So we could pay better on how they complete. So it keeps retained staff. We use it for recruitment. We tell people when we're doing interviews that we have complete ASAP. So what that means to them is they're getting paid quicker and they've got 91% chance of being paid instead of 50% chance of it being paid out of the pipeline. We can sell all of that part of it. So that helps us as a company from that perspective financially and also to recruit. And then also from the acquisitions, we've had four acquisitions that of like mini ones and larger ones that we've just got the pipeline, just sent it all straight over, and we will send it. I'll get an email back within 15 minutes, say to pick it all up. I've experienced it quite a few times of how great they are just to do a smooth process.
Yeah.
It's to the point where we just send it and we just don't even think about it and we just move on. We completely trust them.
Because
So
those are the tricky bits of acquisitions where you sort of inherit somebody
yeah,
else's system and way of working. If you can sort of just silo that off and say, right, well, sales progression, this goes over here, and
yeah,
they handle it. Gives you a
yeah,
uniform process across all the sort of different brand
exactly.
identities as well. That's brilliant.
Yeah, it's a blueprint that we've been able to then build off, which is the idea for these acquisitions. So I think if you had one person that you then give them another pipeline, they might be able to manage it, but how well will it manage? And then you might need to hire someone else, but you haven't got a big enough pipeline for them to then manage at that point. And so it all gets a bit tricky, but it's completely their problem. So it's just one other thing we don't need to think about.
Awesome. April, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, David.